Hello, and welcome back to Indie Book Club, the show that breaks down and builds up indie books and the authors that write them. My name is Sarah Tosh, and this month we will be talking about the fantasy, kind of YA fantasy novel Tetrachrome by Mia Yanez. If you're a fan of the show and you've watched it before, the format here is going to be a little different. I'm actually going to start off with my overall impression. I used to save it to the end, but I figure, if you're busy, you got somewhere to be, heart surgery, or maybe a parole hearing or something, you can just grab the headlines right away and go off to whatever you're going to do today. The overall sensibility of Tetrachrome reminds one of a surrealist painting. There are palaces made of seashells, energy towers powered by people, beasts that feed on fear. I really can't tell you the rules of the world, and to be honest, I'm glad for that. It is presented in a way where events like she sits down on the steps and works on making her ice dagger, or her hands turn to knives, or his dead body evaporated, leaving 2 newborn babies in its place, are not only unremarkable, they almost seem expected. This world doesn't care if you know how it works. It is what it is, take it how you will. In some ways, this mirrors the lesson that our hero and her friends learn along their journeys. The actions of a person may not always make sense to you, but that is because you are on the outside. If you had the ability to see inside their heads, you would more than likely find that they have a good reason indeed. This book demands your attention and energy, so if you're looking for something light, this probably won't fit the bill. But if you are a reader on the hunt for something odd, unique, and challenging, Tetrachrome would be worth a look. Boom. I'm gonna give all the important busy people a chance to leave real quick. Okay, now we can get into it. Spoiler alert! Yes, indeed. This episode is full of spoilers, like all the episodes. So if you don't want everything ruined for you, cut the video right now and come back to it after you've read the book. Here's the deal with all of our characters. I'm not going to name them all because there are a lot of them. Some of them just don't matter as much as the others, so I'm going to stick to the headlines. To the author, if I miss it pronouncing these names, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of doing the best I can phonetically. So you got Esther Tetrachrome. She is the daughter of the Empress of the Evening Realm, which I will talk about in a second, what that means. And she's sick. She has an illness that is caused by the radiation of the sun, and she basically has to go away from it in order to live. She's dying and she has to flee. And the only place that she's really safe is in the night realm. There is magic in this world. It is a fantasy book, so she's got a couple of different abilities. She's got wings, but because she's sick, she can't fly in her place that she lives. She has to go to the night realm in order to use that ability. She has some telepathic abilities. She can travel the mind plane, which is pretty much what it sounds like, a mental plane. And she also somehow builds an ice dagger, as I said in the summary. She has this ability to kind of sit down and make a dagger made of ice. Again, it's not really explained how any of that works. You just kind of are like, oh yeah, she's just making an ice dagger like you do, whatever. So that's her, and her journey and her needs and her desires as a character are what spur the plot of this book to move forward. Then you have Fontaine Candle. I love the names in this book. They're so fun. And she is very different from Esther. She has magical abilities. She's the one that can turn her hands into knives. She's kind of like mutation ability. And she's been trained as a soldier. All the children are trained as soldiers, we're told. We don't see it quite as much except with Fontaine, but we're told that that's sort of, they're put in the military training very, very young, and they build their abilities, whatever they are. Everyone kind of has different ones. The Evening Realm, where they live, is always at war, apparently. Esther's mom, the Empress, is super militant and aggressive. Anyway, Fontaine Candle, she can shapeshift her hands, and she believes that everything can be solved with violence, with aggression, with physical force. That is in contrast to Esther, but also more specifically to Esther's sister, the older of her 2 sisters, Leaves. It's not that she's a pacifist, it's that she is physically incapable of violence, it seems. I don't know if it's a mental thing or what, but she can't do it. And she sees herself as a failure. And it's kind of implied that everyone else sees her as a failure too. 4th character that I'm going to talk about is Dovabelle Tetrachrome, the baby sister of the 3, who's very rambunctious and, very baby sistery. Then you have Flair, who is Fontaine's friend, Only reason I'm mentioning him here is because he kind of plays a role in the plot, at least in the beginning. And then finally, the last character I'm going to talk about is Nusette Cyclone, which is, whereas Fontaine is sort of a frenemy and someone who Esther doesn't get along with, and Fontaine definitely hates her, Nusette is the bad guy. He's the villain. We'll get into this in plot, but there are basically generators that protect the night realm from the solar radiation coming into the planet, and he wants to shut them down, which would essentially destroy the night realm, which would essentially kill Esther. Super bad guy. And that is our list of characters. Like I said, there are a couple of others. I might mention them. I know Iona is the Empress's like secretary. She pops up for a little bit. The guy whose body melts and turns into two babies, he's one of the henchmen of Nusette. They add a lot to the world, but they're not gonna really, they don't serve the plot as much as the characters I mentioned. So as I kind of alluded to a second ago, the world of Tetrachrome, Mozaya, I want to say, Mozaya. It is delineated into different realms with like names of the day. Esther lives in evening realm. She needs to get to night realm. There's like morning realm. There's like dusk realm. There's a lot of different things. And as you can imagine, or as at least it's implied in the book, these realms kind of are always in that state of being. Like evening is always evening, noon is always noon, that sort of thing, which is kind of cool. There is magic in the world. Again, it's not really explained exactly what sort of magic there is or what the limitations of this magic are. It just sort of seems like everyone has different magic. Some people have the same magic. Esther encounters a couple of different people that can do what she does. It seems like there are a few people that can teleport. And then there's also science too. Nusette is a scientist. There is this technology of the solar block trying to keep the rays out of the night realm, these harmful rays. Why we need science when we seem to have so much magic, that's not really explained either. If anything, that would have been nice to know, where the magic is limited and where the science has to take over. But I mean, again, this world just kind of like, it is what it is. And because of how it's presented as just, here you go, here's the world, it's crazy, and you don't know kind of what's gonna come out of the text at you. You never really know what to expect. You just from the beginning, you're conditioned to say like, okay, well, I guess that is real now. And you just kind of get used to it. I think it would really bother people who are super into like order and structures and systems. I didn't mind it. I thought it was kind of fun. Would I read every book like that? No, probably not. But for this one, I really enjoyed it. I thought it worked. Okay, so here's the plot of the book, more or less, the main plot. I'm so excited to talk about this. You have Esther, she's got this medical condition, the radiation from the sun makes her sick, she has to get to the night realm. Her mom can't take her because her mom is the Empress and she's like at war, and she's like, I'm too busy, I can't. So Esther's like, all right, I'm gonna go myself and I'm gonna take, I think it's like 6 or 7 of my friends with me. They start this journey, this big epic journey all the way across the world to the night realm. But before they leave, the Empress's secretary goes to them and says, hey, so while you're out, I need you to pick up this red soap dish. It's really important. I need you to find it. Soap container. I need you to find this red soap container. And the kids / the reader are like, all right, well, that's random, but okay, we'll look for it. So they go. After a while, one of their friends, Flair, is kidnapped by a woman named Magenta Catalyst. So good. They have to try to go rescue him. He's stuck in this tower. She imprisons him. And it seems that the whole purpose of that particular plot point is twofold. One, it has to send them back to evening. Flair's hurt and they have to go back in order to move the plot forward. And the second reason is that Esther finds out, one, that Magenta is also a mind plane traveler, and 2, she finds information out that you can kill people in the mind plane, which she didn't know before. She thought she couldn't, but you can only do it, and I want to make sure I get this right. You can only kill someone in the mind plane with the opposite of what you use to hurt them. So they rescue Flair, they bring him home. The secretary, Iona, asks him, okay, did you get the soap container? Doesn't seem really concerned about anything else. And they're like, no, we didn't make it to the Night Realm. And she's like, okay, so I guess we'll go to the Night Realm together. I'll go get it myself because I really need it. They transport directly to the Night Realm. So across the planet, just go straight there, no epic journey. She knows exactly where to get it, and they talk to the person who has it. This is an artifact that actually will like really help whoever holds it. It'll help them defeat their enemies. Iona, who apparently can teleport and also has some telepathic abilities, gets these visions of this man, enter Nusset Cyclone, destroying the Night Realm. And Astaire, because she's also telepathic, she can see those visions too. The journey goes in a totally new direction. And this is bolstered by the fact that they teleport right back to evening, right after all of that. And shortly afterwards, Dove is kidnapped by Nusset's henchmen. So there's some shuffling around. There's obviously some panic. The youngest daughter of the Empress has been kidnapped. That's bad. We need to do something about that. Astaire manages to track her to a energy tower in Noon Realm. And she tells her mom this, and her mom says, well, we have to save her, but I'm too busy at war. You go, children, and take my secretary and my secretary's sibling. It's hard to tell if it was a man or a woman. I think they were kind of fluid. And she kind of explains this way, like that seems very cold, right? But she kind of explains this way as like, you know, if I stop everything, stop the war, draw my troops away from the battle to go save my daughter, like, they're just gonna realize that, like, that's how they can get away with this stuff, and they're gonna keep coming after my family. Like, I can't do that. I can't show my emotion in this case. I have to be, stoic, which, yikes. But also, yeah, okay, that kind of does make sense. Bear in mind, all of these children have been trained for war. So it's not like sending, some random kids who don't know anything. Like Fontaine is a, cold ass killer. And in the beginning of the book, she assaults some guard and she's actually kind of semi on the run from the police a little bit. So sending these kids is not like sending kids. It's sending very young warriors, very young soldiers on a retrieval mission. Oh, also, before they leave, I believe it's Iona takes the soap container to the blacksmith, and it's like, here, I found this amazing thing. You can turn it into a weapon for us. And the blacksmith's like, no, that's nothing. I'm just going to use it to kind of coat my weapons or coat the handles on my weapons or something. Like, it's not a big deal. That's not going to do anything to help you win this. So that's the end of the soap container thing. They storm the tower. They find Dove. She was kidnapped because her ability can power this energy substation that Nusset wants to use to disable the solar array, the solar protection, the solar shields, to let the radiation in to Night Realm. At this point, we just think he's crazy. We think he's just some psycho who's gone mad, some mad scientist who just wants to destroy the Night Realm. They storm the tower, and a number of really important things happen here because this is now the climax of the book. One, Astaire figures out, and maybe the most important thing is she figures out what that whole, you can only kill someone in the mind plane with the opposite of what you would use to hurt them. Now, you and I are thinking, oh, it's love. You can kill someone with love because love doesn't kill anyone and hate does, and blah. The author knows we're thinking that and immediately is like, that's cheesy, that's stupid, it's not that, and it doesn't make any sense anyway, which was probably one of my favorite parts of the book. Yeah, you got me. From there, it goes on to explain a little bit further and dig in a little bit more, and it's empathy. Empathy is the opposite of what you would hurt someone with. Astaire, using her telepathic abilities, she dives into not only Nusset's brain, but his past. And she goes through from his childhood. She kind of sees how he came up to be the scientist that he was. And she realizes that the reason he's trying to bring down these shields is because his sister is up in a rocket. They have rockets. There's space travel and everything. She's up in a rocket and they're in danger and she's trying to get back. and he doesn't know where she is. He thinks she's still up there, and he needs to keep the shields down in order to let her through. Otherwise, they're gonna burn up in the radiation that I assume is kind of like bouncing off the shields, and it'll bounce back and burn up their ship. He's trying to save his sister. After going through all of that, it's sort of like a door opens into his vulnerability, and she could kill him, but she's like, why would I do that? I understand. And on top of that, she is able, because again, telepathy, she can track where the sister is. The sister's actually fine. She's in Morning Realm. And she's like, we don't need to kill him. He doesn't need to be doing this. Like, everything's actually cool. We just need to talk about it. But it's already too late. Fontaine and him are locked in this death battle, and she ends up killing him before Esther has the chance to tell her that you don't need to do this. You'll be killing him for no reason. He is doing this for no reason. It's a pretty dark ending to the journey. They do save Dove, which is good. That's positive. Their mission is a success. But in the larger sense, they have failed as well. So it's a very good climactic confrontation between all of these characters. So in the end, Esther, who started off wanting to go to the Night Realm and save her own life, ends up saving the Night Realm and learning a lot more about the nature of war, the nature of empathy, and in the end she decides to stay in Evening, mostly for Fontaine, who arguably has a much bigger character journey. At the beginning, she's this person who's absolutely convinced that violence solves everything. It is the only solution to every problem. It is a skeleton key that will unlock every door. And in the end, she has this pinnacle, this triumphant moment where she kills an enemy of the world, essentially. And she is devastated by having done that, by using that skeleton key that she believed in so fully. She realized it was the worst thing she could have done. She solved the problem, but there was no problem. So it was all unnecessary. And on top of that, she is kind of forced to take this medal of commendation for killing this guy because she saved the world. It's just sort of tragedy compounding tragedy, having to take this medal for something that she thought, it's something that she probably wanted from the very beginning, being this, lauded hero in this warrior. And it's all just kind of turned around and ruined. So Esther mostly stays for her, to support her. And of course, obviously, they were not really friends at the beginning, and now they've gone through this whole thing together, and are very close as she probably is with her sisters, Esther, if not closer. I think that, one of the things that summarizes their journeys together, is the quote from the end of the book, which is, "They cried for the government that made them soldiers, the blood that belonged in the veins of scientists, and the violence that spread between men like wildfire." And that is just a beautiful way to tie up the journey with the themes of the book. The biggest thing is violence is not always the answer, and in fact, violence may be causing the problems, essentially. You run to violence in order to avoid figuring out why this problem is even here. You just are kind of like, we'll just kill the problem. We'll just kind of destroy it, and then we don't have to worry about it. Problem solved when nothing is solved. Another couple of quotes that I want to say here, which I think really add to the theme and modify the theme a little bit, is, first, "Strength is fluid and multifaceted. To say that physical violence and strength are the same isn't true. You can fight in other ways." Pretty directly of the theme, I would say. And then this is a quote from the Empress to Esther. So at one point, Esther, I believe it's when she's trying to stop Nusret's henchmen from taking Dove, she tries to use that ice dagger she's been building, and it breaks. And she's not able to save her. Obviously, she's crushed by this. She's very weak physically because of her illness, and this ice dagger obviously symbolizes physical strength, and it broke. And the Empress says to her when she learns that this dagger broke, "Sometimes what we think is our greatest asset is actually our greatest flaw," which is just beautiful. So many symbolic things moving into that moment. Character-wise, theme-wise, aesthetic-wise, I thought all of that was great. But there are a few things that did kind of take away some of the enjoyment of that for me. One, the world of the different realms, love the idea. Did not see a lot of distinction between a lot of those worlds. Evening, or night rather, obviously it's night there. Just pure night, stars. Esther can fly there, so you get this sense when they're there that it's very kind of like low gravity and just dreamlike, and it's very cool. And I didn't get a sense of that sort of unique personality to any of the other worlds. Even Evening. Evening was just kind of like, this is world, and night is different, and then everywhere in between was still just kind of world, day world. Maybe that was the point. Maybe it was like making a statement on like, oh, evening is fighting, I think it was late afternoon or something, and it's just like, why? You're basically the same. But still, I mean, if you're gonna do something like that, I would have liked to seen at least a little shades of difference between them. When I started reading this book, I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a journey into your, you know, a safe place. Where it's Wizard of Oz, you know, it's pick your epic story, Lord of the Rings. We're taking a journey across the world to get somewhere. And when we get there, the journey will be over, we will have reached our goal, and also you probably will have made changes as a person. And then someone gets kidnapped. Awesome. Very exciting. Love people getting kidnapped on the way. Love it when journeys take different roads. And then they jump back to evening. Okay, so they had a little bit of a setback. They gotta go back. Fine, whatever. I'm sure we'll get on our way again soon. And then, oh, we're just gonna jump straight to night. We're gonna teleport there, skipping everything and making me wonder why it was even necessary to do the first part in the first place. And then we're gonna find a totally different bad guy. And now when we go back, we're gonna be on a totally different journey. I like both journeys. The second one with the bad guy was probably more interesting because there was a bad guy involved who isn't mentioned until they get to the Night Realm at all. We don't hear his name once in the first half of the book. It sort of felt like two books. It felt like this journey where they try to get to the Night Realm and they don't. And then the second journey where they find out there's a bad guy and then they go through this whole thing to defeat him. Really, just even being able to know that there was a bad guy from the beginning, that this guy even existed in the beginning, would have probably been good to know. And then maybe my biggest point of confusion / what I believe to be the biggest missed opportunity is that soap container. So I went through it with you. It was, get the soap container, never mind why. Oh, you didn't get it? Okay, well fine, I'm gonna go get it. Found it, because I knew exactly where it was. Here, blacksmith, do something with it. Oh, I can't, it's nothing. Throw it in the garbage, essentially. That is the journey of the soap container. Now, I think I understand what the sort of goal was with this thing. It was trying to make it like this magical golden ticket of warrior, you know, military power. It's like Excalibur. It is the thing that is going to make sure that you win. It is the ultimate source of influence, and everyone's just going to bow to you. And then it turns out to be nothing. I understand that too. You know, you've built this thing up in your mind as this, if we find this, we'll definitely win all of our battles. And then it turns out, no, you can't do that. And that fits with the theme. That part I really like. Where I think it goes wrong is, one, the way the mission is given about. It's sort of just like, oh, it really isn't this important. Just like, while you're out on your already really important journey to save this person's life, can you just like pick this up? You know, no big deal. If it's gonna be a big epic thing like that, it should be given big, epic, you know, mythological standing. And it's like, this is a big deal and it's gonna help us and it's gonna be amazing. It is funny that that's the way this quest started. But to kind of do what I think the story wanted it to do, it didn't quite make any sense. The other thing I would say is, again, while having it be a soap container is very funny and kind of makes it seem, you know, stupid, which the book is saying those kind of things, those kind of artifacts, those kinds of quests, they are stupid because that doesn't really exist, you know. There's no such thing as this magical thing that's gonna give you all of your power over your enemies. The only thing that's gonna do that is in here, you know, your heart. It's not gonna be anything outside. But if you want it to fit into this idea of like, oh, it's up here, it's this mythological thing, and then by the end of it, it's, oh, it's actually just a piece of crap that doesn't do anything and we were completely just fooling ourselves. At the beginning, it needs to be up here. Oh my God, it's this like beautiful, super huge golden sword or mace or morning star or whatever. It's an amazing thing. And then, you know, you find it and it's like, oh, we found it, our dreams are gonna come true. And then you take it to the blacksmith and he's like, yeah, that's like a doorstop. And then it's had all of this fall from grace, fall from stature, and you're just like, oh, I spent all this time thinking about this thing and it's just a piece of shit, essentially. It's nothing. That really can't happen if it's a soap container from the beginning. To summarize, love what the idea was, love the message it was going for, just some of the cosmetics of it didn't quite match what the goal of that item was, but I liked what it was going for. I really, really did. So that is a wrap on Tetrachrome by Mia Yanez. It is available on Amazon. Little notes and things aside, it was a very fun, unique, like nothing I'd ever read before. So I'm interested to see what she comes up with next. You can find the buy link in the details section of this video. The next book will be The Formation of Calcium by one of our old favorites, MS Co. That's right. I'm returning to the author of New Veronia. I was requested to do this by the publisher. Very exciting. So I'm waiting to get that copy. The book comes out in March. If I don't happen to get an advance copy, I'll get it when it comes out and I'll read it anyway because, like I said, I'm a fan. For all of you authors out there who are watching this, because I know there's tens of you, maybe more, watching this video, if you have a book that you would like this kind of review on, I know I can be a little bit tough in some cases, but I swear I am doing it from a good place, and I've liked, with the one exception, which I don't talk about ever, I've loved every book I've ever done for Indie Book Club. Please send me your books, send me your buy links, send me your recommendations. The weirder the better, honestly. I love fantasy, I love crime, horror, all of it. If you've got a weird book especially, I want to read it, I want to review it. So send me your stuff. My email is also in the details. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.